Shotguns. They're pretty cool, but what are they good for? Well, a lot of stuff, and that's not what this video is about. What we're talking about today is, are holographic weapon sights too tall for shotguns? Ultimately, you may say, hey, that's a matter of opinion, and you're right, but I'm here to give you my opinion because you're watching this channel and I can only assume that's what you'd like. I don't know why, but that's not important. Moving on. Holographic weapon sights, they're pretty awesome. They're extremely fast, and for most applications for shotguns, you're gonna want something that works well up close at speed, and that's certainly what this optic does. But a lot of people tell us, hey, look, the comb height slopes down on most shotguns, unless you've got some AR style thing going on, and those are super cool. But most guns, you're gonna see this general sort of pattern of buttstock and length of pull. And most people say, hey, I'm trying to get on my shotgun. I just don't know if this thing is gonna be too tall to really get that good cheek weld that most people like. Now, there's an entirely other debate you can go on how much cheek weld or chin weld or any point of contact at all you need. And again, video for a different day. But what we want to talk about is, what times is the HWS going to be good for you on a shotgun, and when may you want something else like an EFLX? So, number one, common uses for shotguns is bird hunting of some variety or sport shooting with clays. Typically, you're going to be shooting up in the air because, you know, birds and clays both tend to fly. And if you're shooting down on the ground, someone will probably yell at you. Now, this is where I find HWSs work extremely well. Birds are typically moving extremely quickly, and you have to track them both eyes open. So getting that amazing big window, easy clear sight picture, and tracking that bird with both eyes open, you're not gonna have that same sort of classic cheek weld that most people think of when they're shooting a gun horizontally and you're sort of, you know, bearing down on the gun and really trying to fight that recoil. Typically, you're taking one, maybe two shots in the air, and HWSs tend to work really well for that. Now, based on your neck length and all the other sort of ways your body is put together, a HWS may work well for you when you're doing something like bird hunting or deer hunting or target shooting, turkey hunting, something like that, where you are shooting more on that level plane. For me, personally, I think the HWS works great because I don't have that old school cheek weld really. I tend to more index off my chin. I do that because I also index my rifles there. So I have a single index point regardless of the platform I'm shooting, and that's how I've learned to shoot and mitigate recoil. But that's just me. Before we started filming, talking to another guy behind camera, and he was talking about how, hey, I think this is a little bit too tall. And that gave me a good idea. If this is too tall for you, we have the EFLX. So let's show you what that looks like, and we can talk about the pros and cons. And voila, through the magic of editing, now we have an EFLX on the shotgun. So you will notice much smaller footprint, smaller window, and it's lower to the bore of the gun. And what's that gonna mean for you? Well, as you can see before, I was indexing right here on my chin, and I could see through the HWS just fine. However, to get a sight picture through this EFLX, I've gotta go like that there and just bury my head a little bit more. And again, it's really personal preference. It's how you like to shoot, how you feel you can mitigate recoil best, and how you feel you can employ your weapon most accurately for your use case. Because again, it depends on what you're using this for. If you're using this for a breaching shotgun, well, it's kind of long and you probably don't need an optic at all. But I digress. The point here is that we have optical solutions for all of your shotgun needs. Now, I said I'd talk about pros and cons for each optic type. So let's look at this. So obviously this is bigger, it's heavier, but it's got a bigger window. And in my opinion, the holographic technology provides a slightly faster aiming solution than the EFLX. However, the EFLX is much lighter, smaller, and if you do prefer that chin weld style of shooting, it's gonna give you that. Another pro for the HWS is it does have that circle dot pattern that we are known for. Now, where this really comes into play with shotguns is patterning. So unless you're shooting a rifled slug barrel with rifled slugs, of course, you're going to have a spread of your pattern or pellets when you shoot out of a shotgun. And the neat thing is, this little ring that I can see and you can't right here will be a general guide or reference point for the way your shotgun is actually going to pattern. And you can go out and get a pretty big piece of paper and actually pattern your gun at different distances based on the loads you're shooting. So you actually know more precisely where your gun's gonna shoot. But that 68 MOA ring really does help give you a pretty good reference point for where your pattern is going to land on target. And I really dig that. But again, like I said, this is kind of personal preference. With the single dot in here, you still have a good aiming reference point, and it can be used, of course, for birdshot, buckshot, or rifled slugs, whatever you're into. So, kind of two options here. What do you like? You want the old style iron sights? Maybe. They've worked for a long time, but I submit for your consideration that optics are the way to go for firearms. It is the future. Embrace the future. Don't be a Luddite. get out there and try either an EFLX or an HWS on your shotgun and tell us what you think about it down in the comments. Or, since it is the internet, go ahead and just tell me all the things I did wrong and how stupid I am, because I like that too. And honestly, it drives engagement. So the more you say, the better we do. Basically, you can't win. Yeah. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Train hard, live free. See you next time.